Even the best RV water filtration system won't completely protect your tankless water heater from calcification buildup. Each and every water heater manufacturer has slightly different maintenance recommendations, but an annual tankless water heater decalcification is a smart item to add to your RV maintenance checklist. Some telltale signs, right, of a calcium buildup include things like reduced water flow or temperature and unusual noises coming from the heater unit that clearly shouldn't be happening. Luckily, it's a relatively easy task and it doesn't require too many supplies. However, the method does vary depending on your heater manufacturer. You're going to need the following tools to perform this operation. Of course, the star of the show is going to be an approved type and amount of descaling solution, in this case using 5% acidity vinegar. You'll want 2 5-gallon buckets, a submersible pump, 2 flexible hoses with 1/2-inch female connectors. Now I purchased a pump that uses a garden hose connection, so I just grabbed 2 garden hoses and the appropriate adapters. You'll also potentially need needle nose pliers, a drill with a number 2 square bit, as well as some shop towels. Now, as always, right, I encourage checking with your heater's manufacturer for their specific recommendations, but here are the basic steps for descaling a tankless water heater made by common brands like Suburban, which is what we have here, Girard, Fagatti, and Furion. All right, the first step is going to be to locate and open both the interior and exterior panels. Then we're going to want to shut off power, water, and gas to the unit. Now, it may require turning off the unit's power switch on the exterior and also, if equipped, closing the cold water inlet, hot water outlet, and shutting off the incoming gas line valve. This particular unit, however, doesn't have individual shutoffs, so we'll simply turn off the propane at the tanks and drain the water system. The next step is going to be to either gravity drain or use compressed air to clear water from the heater. Now this again is where you'll need to check for manufacturer recommendations. For example, Fagatti recommends that you gravity drain, while Furion, Suburban, and Girard all recommend blowing out with compressed air. Just for your knowledge, it's going to be 30 psi max for Furion, 40 psi max for Suburban and Girard. Now again, because we're working on a Suburban heater, we blew it out with compressed air, but if you are on a unit where you have to gravity drain it, you want to make sure you replace the plug. All right, then we want to access the back of the water heater here, obviously inside the RV, and we want to carefully disconnect the plumbing lines connected to the cold water inlets and hot water outlets. I do recommend having some towels just to soak up any dripping water during this step. Then we're going to take our flexible hoses and simply attach it to the inlet and outlet on the back of the heater. We're then going to take the open end from the hot outlet and then we're going to just put it basically in the bucket to allow for circulation. Then we're going to fill the bucket with the approved descaling solution. If you are using tablets, you may need to mix the solution before adding the pump to the bucket, of course. As I said, our descaling solution today is just 5% acidic vinegar. All right, now we're just going to turn on the pump and allow it to essentially circulate the descaling solution through the water heater, and we're gonna let that happen for a full hour. All right, and after the 60 minutes, we're going to turn the pump off. Now, if your heater has an exterior drain plug, you can place a bucket under it and remove the plug to drain the heater of any remaining descaling solution. Or in this case, because we don't, we could open the T&P valve again just to help remove some of that vinegar. The other option, of course, is just to flush it with more water, which is what we're gonna do in this circumstance. Okay, and then just to make life nice and easy, I'm gonna take my remaining bucket, fill this with about 3 to 4 gallons of fresh water. I'm gonna take my submersible pump out of our descaling solution and place it in the fresh water. And then our descaling solution we're just going to dispose of because we are going to fill this bucket back up. Okay, so now we are going to pump through the fresh water to get all the descaling solution out of the heater. So again, our submersible pump is in a few gallons of fresh water. This hose is connected to the cold inlet, and then from the hot outlet, we have our hose just going to the empty bucket, so that way this one will fill with all the descaling solution that's still in the heater. All right, and we went through our 4 gallons of fresh water here. Now, because the tankless water heaters hold so little liquid, that's probably enough. But if you feel better pumping through another 3 to 4 gallons, by all means, you can do so. Now, with that, we went ahead and turned off our pump, and now it's time to reconnect our hot and cold water lines. Of course, we're going to connect the cold water line to the inlet, the hot water line to the outlet. Now, the manufacturer didn't use any thread sealing tape, probably because we have brass fittings on the heater and we have plastic fittings on the PEX pipe, and so we're not going to use any thread sealant here either, but if that's something you feel better doing, by all means, you can do so. Before we connect the cold water line, we do want to check and see if there's a filter. If there is, I recommend removing it, washing it out, and then putting it back in. If you frequently encounter hard water on your RV travels, you're probably going to need to decalcify your water heater more frequently. The same is going to be true for high usage, right? The more water you run through the heater, the more often you're going to need to clean it out. Now, if you'd prefer having a certified RV technician complete this maintenance for you, I have included a link to our service department in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'm Ian Baker, and until next time, we'll see you.